Hey, that's us, WDXE, and we are live, and I'm trying to figure out a little technical problem. I don't know what music we're hearing behind us, but I've got Mr. Alan Betz in here with me this morning. How you doing, Alan?
I'm doing great, Jeff. It's good to see you this morning.
We're good. We've got some kind of music playing from somewhere, and I have no idea where it's coming from. Is it your phone?
No, I sure hope not. Well, I guess it is. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Where is that coming from?
I pulled it out to turn it off, and that's all I had. So how in the world was that
we
coming
had
on?
We had a couple of moments of silence there on the radio, and by the way, that's brought to you by Hood and Hester Realty and Auction Company. That moment of silence. How about that? Anyway, Big Al is with me, as I've always called him, and a lot of other your friends I think refer to you as Big Al. But Alan Betz, longtime attorney here in Lawrenceburg, and a fixture in Lawrenceburg for many years. And of course, your office located on the square. As far as I know, you've been there since the beginning, since you started.
This is my 40th year there, Jeff.
That's what I thought.
Started to work in August of '83 for Mr. Herb White.
Yeah. Did I get this on? Let me make sure I got this on. Yeah. I apologize, Alan. We had that little glitch there. We should be okay. We should be all right. So anyway, I know we're on the radio, and if I get the other buttons pushed, we'll be on Facebook and YouTube as well. But I asked Alan a while back if he'd consider coming on in one of the mornings, and it just happened to be this morning. It worked out good. I got to see you yesterday at one of our closings. You handle a lot of closings for us.
We enjoy doing that, Jeff, and appreciate the opportunity for you, sir.
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, I had, if you're familiar with what we do here on Wednesdays, I've had several guests in, been gracious enough to come in and be with us, and we just like to find out about folks. I've had Lanny Hurst in here. I've had Eddie Landtroop, others. Can't name them all at the moment, but kind of the life and times of Alan Betz is what I'd like to find out. But I knew your mom because my mom and your mom worked together at the bank for many years. She was a part of First National Bank in the old days.
Right.
And, of course, a lot of folks will remember and know your dad, Chester Betz, who had the station there on the corner for so many years. How long was he in business there? And when did he start? You know?
Well, he started in 1948 after World War II.
Oh, wow.
And when he got to town, the corner of the 43 and 64 was the main intersection in town.
Oh, yeah.
And whenever he got here, there were 4 service stations on each corner. There's one on each corner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he worked at every one of them until he ended up on the corner that's still there. He got there in 1950 or 51, I think.
Okay.
And
so he started out working at the stations that were already there.
Yes.
And worked at all 4 corners.
Yes, sir.
Well, he knew that corner quite well.
He did. He did. And he used to tell a story that he never saw an accident because he saw one time and he had to go to court to testify about it. And of course, accidents always happened at that intersection.
Oh, yeah.
He said after that first one that he saw, he never saw another one.
That's funny you should say that. You remember Downey and Jones corner?
Yeah.
Many years ago, I was in there back when it was Downey and Jones. And while I was in there, there was an accident that happened at that corner. And I forget who was in there now, but he made the same comment. We never see him.
That's right.
We never see him.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that you would say that. But I've always remembered that. I never forgot it. But anyway, I remember getting gas there as a young man myself. And of course, it was when was the last year that he operated there?
He retired in 86.
86.
Yeah. And he had about a year of retirement, and then he got terminal cancer.
Yeah.
And died in 88.
In 88. Okay. Well, now the Cliftons ran that station for a little longer than that, though.
Oh, yeah.
It kept running for a while.
The opportunity for Chester to leave fell. Keith Jackson from over in Cheville ended up leasing the station from him and hired George Clifton to run it.
Right.
and that gave Chester the opportunity to retire.
Yeah.
And,
Well, let's go back and talk about Chester. Now, was he originally a Lawrence Countyan?
Originally from Dixon.
From Dixon. Okay.
But lived in Lawrence County most all of his life.
Yep.
And his father worked, and I've heard stories over the years. He worked for the power system, and they strung power in Loretta.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Dad was here for most all his life, for sure.
Well, you mentioned after World War II, was he a veteran too?
Yes.
So he went to World War II.
Yeah, he.
Where and how did he serve?
He was a mechanic.
Yeah.
In the Army.
Well, that makes sense.
And he was overseas for 3.5 years.
Okay.
He told me he never saw combat, thank goodness, and
yes,
everything. His best story was he was delivering the mail in Iceland, and his truck broke down, and he left. And when he came back the next day, the truck was you could see the very top of it. The rest of it was under snow at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But he got away from that.
That was in
goodness.
Iceland?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he served in Iceland for a while.
Wow. Wow. And a mechanic in the Army?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, good deal. So he comes back, lands in Lawrenceburg, works at the stations. At some point, he must have met your mom.
He did.
Do you know the story on that? Do you know the story?
Well, a lot of it's urban legend, I guess, is the best way of describing it, Jeff. But they dated after he got back from the service, and they got married in 1948.
Okay.
And my sister was born about a year later, and they lived on First Street.
Okay.
Until we moved to Jackson Avenue after I was born in '56, right across from the old public school playground, and that's where I grew up and lived all my life.
Okay. Well, now your mom, was she a native Lawrence County too?
Yes.
She was. So she was here. Who was she before? Now I just knew her as Miss Carolyn, and
her name was Wesson.
Wesson.
And she grew up in Rosemont. Her dad died whenever she was a child, and her mom's name was Cora. And,
okay.
She had one brother named Carol, and they grew up on Park Street, down the street from where I grew up. So
city folks.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Hey, but in that time and day and time, even the city folks were country folks here in Lawrenceburg.
For sure.
Yeah. That's right. So, Alan Betz, growing up, you have one sister?
Had one sister. She passed away about 3 years ago.
Oh, okay. I'd forgotten about that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The thing that I remember about, of course, I have memories of your mom because I would go, in the bank there to see my mom or whatever after school or here, there, and yonder. She loved jokes. She loved telling jokes.
Yeah.
And she would tell me a joke every once in a while. And she called me Jefferson. And she'd come here, I got a joke for you. I always loved to go in because she'd tell me some joke or something. Did you keep any of those jokes?
Jeff, that didn't get passed on to me. That was a hereditary trait that didn't make it to me.
Well,
really.
I've kind of wondered about that because I've known you a good long time. And as far as I know, you have never told me a joke.
I'd be surprised if I had.
Anyway, well, so growing up, you grew up over in, did you say in what area of Lawrenceburg?
Rosemont.
Rosemont.
Yeah, across I lived directly across the street from the corner of Lawrenceburg Public Schools playground.
Oh, okay, Lawrenceburg. Yeah, okay.
And walked to public school.
That's
every
the
day.
old public school.
The old public
school.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's an apartment complex now.
And when you graduated high school, what year did you graduate?
74.
74. When now was the new high school built at that time?
We started as a freshman at Lafayette, high school at Lafayette, and then we moved when I was a sophomore to
Okay, so
the current location.
You were among the first classes to graduate what we call now the new high school, which is not all that new now.
50 years.
50 years.
But, we can remember at lunch, whenever the high school first got built, the Herb McGee or Herb's Corner
Yes.
catered lunch.
Oh, wow.
And because the cafeteria wasn't ready, and I can remember eating on rolls of carpet that were in the hallway.
How about that?
The high school wasn't ready when we got there, but it was pretty close.
Pretty close?
Yeah.
Close, but not all the way. Well, that's interesting. Well, of course, I grew up out in New Prospect area, went to New Prospect, but I had a lot of friends later because of high school connections to Lawrenceburg Public and E.O. Kaufman and all of that now is E.O. Kaufman, but Lawrenceburg Public, I should have said. And then I meant to say Ingram Sal and the other schools that were around. So the high school kind of brought us all together, but we were scattered around with these smaller schools at that point. But what are some of your elementary school memories? And you may want to reminisce a little bit about either teachers that you remember or students that you've known forever. Those friends that we've made, over the years that are here. Do you remember your first days of public school?
Not really.
Not really.
Now,
Did you like school?
I love school.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, that's good
I
because
was-
not every kid does. I was one that didn't. I didn't like school.
Yeah,
but-
I was a good student and
Yeah.
enjoyed learning and enjoyed the fellowship and everything with my friends and that kind of thing. So I always liked school.
Well, and you played ball.
Well, for a little while,
Yeah.
I had I broke my hip when I was in 7th grade, and that pretty much ended my my athletic career.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. How did that happen?
We were having we'd had spring football practice at public school, and started limping for a little bit, and so that indicated to me that later on, now that I can look back on it, that I had started having an issue.
Uh-huh.
And then we were having spring basketball practice there in the gym at public school, and doing a 2-lane layup line, and
Yeah.
Garner Ezel Jr. and I ran into each other, and it knocked me down, and it broke my hip.
Oh, wow.
And didn't know it was broken that day. Just knew it wasn't
hurt.
right. And
Yeah.
went and had X-ray, and I thought it was in my knee. And they X-rayed my knee, and that wasn't an issue. And went home and stayed off of it for a day, and then realized that there was something else wrong. They looked further and realized they had a broken hip, and that was in 1969.
69.
Yeah.
Well, now, is that, of course, I've always known you to have the limp, but I've never asked you about it and didn't know the story behind that whatsoever. And you may not want to talk about it, but I had no idea. So I had no idea what.
So now that
Yeah.
Medicine advances over the years, and you find out things and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
fixing my hip, I had surgery, and they put in 4 pins. They were about this long.
Oh, wow.
And I worked out fine and got fixed, and about after about 3 months I was fine. And then when I started high school,
Mm-hmm.
The bone in my hip died
Oh, wow. Okay.
because of a lack of blood supply.
Okay.
And apparently in the hip, that's the hardest place in your body to get blood supply.
Okay.
And so my first year at high school, the plan was for me to stay off of my leg, and I walked with crutches my first year at high school, and stayed off of it without any kind of other treatment. And after about 9 months, it didn't fix. So in 1972, I got an artificial hip.
Okay.
And a guy in Nashville named Gene Reason was my doctor, and he told me that I was the youngest person he'd ever put an artificial hip in at
Really?
that time. He said, I don't have any idea how long it'll last or anything like that, but, I think that's what we need to do. And so, and of course, another issue I had was during that time, my right leg grew and my left leg didn't. So I've got about an inch and a half difference between the length of the two legs and things. So that's had a lot to do with me having the limp all these years and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, physically, when I would see you, I knew that, but I had no story. I had no story behind it whatsoever. I didn't know, never asked.
Well, it's it's not. It's just is what it is.
Well,
is
yeah.
what we say.
Well, you've but you made the best of it, and
well, that's what
did
you got to do.
And did
man.
what you had to do. That's
Yeah.
right. That's awesome. So you made through high school, made through the surgery, obviously, and did what you had to do. Good student, and then you went to college where?
Middle Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to go to law school?
Well,
Did you? Or did you have that in mind all along?
I never had the thoughts of being a lawyer. I mean, not being a lawyer. First time that I ever decided, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that develop? I mean,
I don't know.
do you have any idea? I mean, what inspired you to think that a lawyer would be the way to go?
I guess television shows.
Really?
Yeah.
Perry Mason, maybe?
Judge for the defense was a fellow by the name of Carl Betz was the
really?
Was the lead character in that and everything, and that just I like to say I never varied from that's what I wanted to do. So
interesting. What was law school like?
Well, I had my law school experience was different than most folks.
Really?
Yeah. So I started off at UT Law School.
Okay.
And after my first 3 quarters at UT, at the end of my third quarter, my grade point average was 1.98, and it needed to be a 2.
Okay.
And so I thought I would get probation, and I didn't. And so, it was the opportunity for me to go elsewhere after that. And so I went to the Nashville School of Law.
Okay.
And started, and so my law school experience took 5 years. Where my plan was it was going to take 2.5 in Knoxville, and but I didn't realize what I didn't learn when I was in Knoxville until I got to the Nashville School of Law that was taught by practicing lawyers, and it was law school at the big law schools at UT and Vanderbilt and Memphis or whatever. They teach you by the Socratic method. They where you're used to getting lectured to in college and taking notes and understanding. And what they try to do with the Socratic method is instead of telling you things, they want you to figure it out on your own by asking you questions all the time.
Okay.
But I didn't G-haul very well with that, obviously. And when I moved to the Nashville School of Law, like I say, it was taught by practicing lawyers. I worked at the Department of Human Services as an eligibility counselor, and get off work at 4:30 and get in my car and head to Nashville 2 nights a week and sometimes 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
And anyway, like I say, I didn't realize what I didn't learn in Knoxville until I had the opportunity to take it again. And I ended up being second in my class in Nashville.
Awesome.
And it was a great experience. It just took longer, and I don't have any doubt that I'm a better lawyer because of my experience about that.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Now, at what point or did this come later? At what point did you meet your sweetie?
Third grade.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Teresa was. She moved to Lawrenceburg from Waynesboro,
Okay.
and she started in the third grade.
Okay.
And in the third grade, I was the director of the Lawrenceburg Public School Rhythm Band.
Oh boy!
And anyway, we joke that.
So you were a rock star from the beginning.
I don't know about that yet, but we joke that Teresa's mom picked me out and said, "I like this boy."
How about that?
And Teresa and I were good friends, and all through school, and I had romantic intentions for her, and they weren't returned whenever we were in high school, and we dated a little bit in high school, and it just didn't, But after we got out of high school, I continued to pursue her, and
yes. Persistence pays off.
It did. It sure did. And
well, she is a sweet lady.
I agree with you, sir.
Yes, very much so. Always been so friendly, great person. And you have children?
Got 2 kids.
And grandkids?
Got 3 grandkids.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you made it through law school. Now, when did y'all get married?
We got married in '78.
Now, were you still?
I had just graduated from Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
So we moved to Knoxville for my, and Teresa got a job as a special ed teacher in Jefferson County, and we had 1 vehicle, and she dropped me off to school on her way to work, and had to drive 35 miles to her job and that sort of thing. And we lived in married student housing on Sutherland Avenue.
How about that?
And
starting a life together.
yes, sir.
That's the way. That's the way. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, after law school, of course, I'm jumping around a little bit, I know, but after law school, you got your law degree, and was there ever any question as to where you would practice or go, or you intended to be here in Lawrenceburg pretty much?
That was my intention for sure, and I was fortunate enough that Herb White decided he needed some help.
I remember Mr. White.
And he put me to work in '83, and of course Herb passed away with cancer in '86. So
right. I had just started. I had just got my real estate license in '86, and that was probably the beginning of any real knowledge of you, because I went to work with Steve Williams at that time.
Yeah.
And we leaned on you and Herb White's office and you for all of our real estate legal needs, and that's probably the beginning of getting to know you a little bit.
Yes, sir. I believe it was.
Yeah. And of course, like I said, I'd known your mom some, and the joke telling, but you weren't a jokester. You were a serious-minded man.
Well, I guess I was.
I have a story that you may or may not remember. It had to do with, it was a real estate deal, and we had closed it in like a year later. The lady was very confused about her closing statement, and she thought it was incorrect, and she'd actually turned me into the state because she thought there was some money missing. And these 2 guys from the state, wherever they come from, the board up there, came into the office, and I remember calling you and telling you there was guys here from I called you. I said, there's guys, because you had closed the deal for us, and I said, there's 2 guys from the state here that think I stole $1,000. Mm-hmm. And so, well, of course we didn't. It was just the way the deal was done is confusing. But I never will forget, you came up there and met with those 2 men and explained things in no uncertain terms, and they left and never came back. And I remember thinking, boy, Big Al, let them have it. It was fun to watch. It was
Well,
fun.
I don't have a memory.
You probably
of that,
don't
Jeff.
remember it, but I remember it because I was kind of, I was a much younger guy, I was just barely in the real estate business about a year. And of course, these guys from the state had kind of spooked me a little bit. But I remember thinking, well, they didn't scare Big Al at all. He lit into them, and I'm like, that's what a lawyer's for right there. So that was good.
As Davy Crockett used to say, make sure you're right and then go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew we were right.
Well, yeah,
I'm
we
sure
were
of that,
right.
Jeff.
We were right, but I remember I said, Alan, they actually think that we stole $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Alan said, I'll be right there, and you zipped up there and lit them on fire, and they never come back. So it was fun to watch.
That's great.
Anyway, that's a true story, whether you believe it or not. It really did happen. I know you can't tell specifics or anything like that, but do you have any kind of there's all kinds of crazy things that happen, and you maybe can't name names or give details, but in your business, you've probably seen a lot of different stuff.
I'd say that would be an accurate statement.
You've
Jeff.
seen a lot of things that go, what in the world has happened here? And it's happened to me too, but I can't imagine your law practice when you started. Was it what area? I know real estate. There was a focus there at least, but there's more to it than that. So, what area of practice did you kind of pursue?
Well, when I started off, and when I was in law school, I wanted to try lawsuits,
Okay.
jury trials.
Okay.
Wanted to be a trial lawyer.
Okay.
Thought I'd be good at that. And as
you
you
probably
know,
would be.
I went to work for Herb, and his practice was pretty much specialized in the real estate end of the law practice.
Right.
Closings, title searches, preparations of deeds, and things like that.
Right.
It didn't take long for me to figure out that it's really, really hard to make a living in the courtroom.
Uh-huh.
Because most of the time you're sitting and waiting for your trial to come up or your case to come up, and not on anybody's clock at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you might have court one day and your case supposed to start at 9, and there be 15 cases on the docket or whatever, and so you're just waiting for your turn. And like I say, it didn't take long for me to figure out that you're not making a living sitting there watching everybody else, and that you can make a living doing work in your office a whole lot better.
And that just brings up another question, because most people in their mind think if you're a lawyer that you're just the money's just flowing in hands over fist, and the rich lawyers, as there's all kind of lawyer jokes. I don't even have to tell you that. But in real estate, for the same way. But making a living is not always easy as it looks like it might seem. Or
That's for sure.
so, and the law practice may not be any different as far as these. There's a lot of struggling lawyers, I guess I should say.
You're waiting on somebody to come in to see you.
Yeah.
To hire you to do something.
Yeah.
And you don't have somebody paying you a salary if you're in business for yourself or
Yeah.
whatever. So you just got to do what you can to make money.
Well, there's a lot of good memories for me kind of associated with your office and Herb White and the people of kind of that generation, Steve Williams, because that's how I got started, with some help from those guys. Steve especially helped me get started, introduced me to people that I needed to know, including you and Herb and others around. And I'm grateful for a lot of folks like that kind of took me under their wing and have helped me over the years, in your office especially. There were people in your office and you that when we needed something, you were there for us. And it worked out. It helped me to actually get established and finally have a career in real estate. It's been a great help. But I was thinking about Herb, and there used to be a group, and I don't know if you were ever in this group or not, or you probably did some. You remember the old Pyramid Restaurant, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And early mornings, there would be a group of those guys, including Herb and Steve and others, that would gather down there. Did you ever participate in the gathering some?
Just once or twice.
Once or twice?
Yeah, I was an outlier on that, but they had a big time, and
they did.
They not all of them are still around.
No, they're not. I got to visit. I had the privilege of kind of horning my way in on that, I guess, with the help of Steve and others. But yeah, there was Steve, Ron Van Vickle, who's no longer with us now, and
Chunky Moore.
Chunky Moore. Now Chunky's around. He's down the street now. I hadn't seen him in a while, but Chunky was in there a lot. And those guys were just a lot of fun to hang around with in the mornings.
Yeah.
It was a good way to get a day started. And so what were you doing early mornings? Going to work.
Going to work, and they laughed at the office yesterday whenever they said that your show was at 8 o'clock. I said, well, Alan won't make it by then.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I don't get to work as early as I used to. That's for sure.
Well, you don't have to now as early.
That's right.
You got you kind of hammered it out for so many years, and now you're enjoying the benefits of the position that you're in. Speaking of that, let's see, we've still got quite a bit of time here left. I wanted to get to at what point now you started with, what year was you started with Herb?
I started in October of '83 and got my law license October. I started in August of '83.
Yes.
And I got the results of my bar exam in October of '83. So
okay.
I've been there since August of '83.
And then at some point, you were hired by the city of Lawrenceburg to be the city attorney. Now, when did that take place?
So, as we talked, Herb had cancer whenever I went to work for him, and I got to be assistant city attorney. Started in January of '86 to be able to step in for him when he couldn't be there or whatever, and that sort of thing. And then, like I say, Herb passed away in July of '86, and I got appointed to the job a couple of weeks after he passed away, and been there ever since.
Been there ever since. You've seen a lot since '86. Different administrations and different councilmen, city administrators, and what have you, that have been a part and watched the city change and grow from where it was then to what it is now. You've seen the growth and evolution of Lawrenceburg.
Yes, I guess that's a good way of putting it, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's not the same deal as whenever I got started.
Yeah.
And like you say, I've seen a lot of different folks and a lot of different administrations and how things progressed, etc.
Well, I won't dwell on that part of this life, your life, too much as far as that goes, because the city business is public business, and everybody pretty much knows what the city does for the most part. But your responsibility as the attorney for the city, what is that? I mean, what is your job actually to do?
Well,
keep us out of trouble.
Yes,
keep us in legal avenues.
And job is to attend city council meetings and be available for to advise the council or any of the employees or department heads or whatever on issues that might come up. The city takes action on ordinances and resolutions and to transact business. And
right.
Like I say, we meet twice a month right now. At one point in time, we met every week. So I'd hate to think about counting how many city council meetings or city commission meetings. It used to be city commission as
Yes.
opposed to, it was changed to the city council back in
Right.
2000 or
Right.
so.
Interesting. Well, very good. Well, I wanted to get to a couple of other areas. You're a huge UT fan,
Yes, sir.
and I don't even need to ask you much about that because you went to school there
For a while.
for a while, and so UT is a big part of your life and gone to many games, I'm sure, and all that kind of stuff. And you've suffered the emotional ups and downs of being a UT fan.
Absolutely.
Okay, so and I'm one of them myself. But the other thing I want to ask you about was a passion of yours has been the Kiwanis Club. You've been a part of the Kiwanis Club here for many, many years. I was a part of that for a little while, and enjoyed my stay there. But you've been a part of that group of guys and ladies now for how long?
Well, Chester
Yes.
was he was a charter member
That's right. I'd forgotten
of
about
the
that.
Kiwanis Club. And
That's
They
right.
got started in 1953, and Kiwanis Club they sponsored the Key Club at Lawrence County High School,
Right.
and I was a member of the Key Club, and ended up being a lieutenant governor in Key Club when I was in high school. And after, whenever we moved back to town and started working for Herb and everything, I joined the Kiwanis Club in '83 and never considered doing anything different.
Yeah.
It was in my blood.
In your
or
blood.
whatever.
Yeah,
So,
it's part of you. Yeah. That's awesome. And the other thing I wanted to get to now is your involvement with Babe Ruth baseball.
Yeah.
How did that start?
Well, my son Chess enjoyed baseball, and I had coached when he was in Little League, and whenever he progressed to Babe Ruth, and I believe it was in '99,
Mm-hmm.
I of course went with him, and any kind of volunteer organization, you got to have folks that will step up to do jobs or whatever. So
Sure.
I got on the board whenever Chess started, and like I say, I've been I started off as what's called the player agent, which is a person that takes care of getting folks signed up, assigning teams, and figuring out how many teams you're going to have and that kind of thing. And well, that started in '99, and been treasurer for most of that time, and just hadn't given up the job yet. So
Well, no need to.
Chess is 37 now, so.
Well, now were you instrumental in the involvement of the Kiwanis Club helping with the Babe Ruth, or
No,
is that
they-
a different thing altogether? Or
The Kiwanis Club had they hosted the Senior Babe Ruth World Series back in, the first one was in 1978, and I didn't actually join the Kiwanis Club till '83. But
Okay.
of course, now Chester was in the club, and
Yes.
I ended up pulling a lot of his concession stand shifts before I got in the club, up at Flanagan Field.
Yeah,
and
we
everything.
did. I remember, even when I was in the Kiwanis Club, we did the concession stand stuff was still going on. The Kiwanis Club did the concession stands.
That's right.
Do they still do that?
No, Flanagan Field no longer is the Babe Ruth
Right,
home. It's we moved to the high school campus
right.
to have the two fields next to each other and that sort of thing.
Right.
And so whenever that got transferred, and that was somewhere around 2000 or so, Flanagan Field, it was used for practice more than games and that sort of thing. And
Right.
the location much better in the where it's at now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, Flanagan Field was where I played Babe Ruth ball, and then later served hamburgers there a few times.
Absolutely.
But But I always enjoyed that field. That was a well kept field for many
Oh,
years.
it was a great field, and
Yeah.
Denver Trap
Yeah.
was the he worked awful hard up there.
He did.
That was his pride and joy, and he took care of it and that sort of thing. But that was awful hard work too. So
Yes, it was.
You know,
Somebody has to do something. You know?
absolutely.
Yeah, nothing gets done until somebody moves.
That's for sure.
You know, that's right. Well, that's pretty awesome. Now, you mentioned Chess. What's going on in his life these days?
Well, Chess he's got 2 kids. He's got Mia that will turn 10 in October, and then he's got a new one.
Yeah.
She's 3 months old.
Oh, wow.
Her name is Penny.
Oh, that's nice.
He's an assistant principal over in Knox County in a primary school over there.
Awesome. Well, that gives you a good excuse to go up into
Oh, yeah.
Knoxville area quite a
I've
bit.
got a place to stay. I don't have to rent a hotel
You got
or
a good
anything.
place to go up there and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Of course, we've had season tickets to the football games since the '80s, and
Yeah.
spent a lot of time over there for sure.
Well, speaking of that, how are we looking this time? How are we looking this year? I'll
this
get you
is-
started on that a little bit.
This is the best time of year, Jeff, because nobody's beat us yet.
Nobody's beat us yet, have they?
And you always think that you're going to be good, and I think
I seen some of the early rankings. We were ranked 10 in what I saw.
10 or 12 different ones. A lot of folks think we're overrated because of they lost some really good players from last year. But
Yeah.
the new quarterback is he's been there. He's been in college 6 years. And,
Oh, wow.
And can throw the ball farther than probably anybody in the country. But the question is, can he make his teammates catch it?
Can they catch it and can he hit them with it? That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
That's right.
And so I'm excited about their possibilities, and I love Coach Heupel.
I was going to say Heupel. He's won a lot of fans.
Yes, sir.
He seems to be fitting in real well.
He's the fact that he was played, and he knows what those guys are going through and that sort of
Yeah.
thing, and he's connected very well with his team, I think.
I had it just dawned on me. Speaking of UT and UT football, I had a second cousin. He would have been my mother's first cousin, a fellow named Bobby Camel. Did you ever know Bobby Camel?
I don't think
Well,
so.
you may not have had any reason to know him, but he was from here. His dad was Chester Camel that worked here at the grocery stores
Yeah.
for many years.
Sure.
That was his dad. But Bobby was a part of UT and kept the grounds, the athletic grounds. He was
Yeah.
over the athletic grounds up there and overseen when they decided to take the artificial turf up and go to real grass.
Right.
He was the manager of all of that when that happened, and he was from here. Bobby Campbell. He's passing on now, but he was a part of UT up there for many years. And his dad was a produce man at the grocery stores here.
I remember
That
Mr.
was
Chester.
that was my grandmother's brother.
Okay.
Yeah, so my
Awesome.
mother's uncle, Chester, and he had. I was thinking he ran. You remember that was skating rink that was north of town years ago?
Vaguely.
Vague.
Yeah.
I have a vague memory of
Yeah.
that too. It's vague, but I think he ran that for a little while too. So did other things. I don't know why I got off on that, but I was just thinking about the UT.
Skating was never one of my vices. I assure you of that.
Well, I did a little bit, but not a lot. Alan Betz is with me here. Of course, you're listening to Friends and Neighbors with Jeff Hood. We got about 10 minutes left, and before we hit a hard break at 8:00. And Alan, again, I appreciate you coming in. I really do.
I've enjoyed it.
It's
Jeff.
been an honor for you
good.
to have you, and of course we've known each other for years. But I learned something that I didn't know about you today.
Yeah.
That I had never known, and very interesting. I still want to go back to your mom. I can't believe you hadn't kept some jokes from your mom's days. Not any.
Not a one.
Not a. I was going to mention too somebody that I know that I talked to yesterday, and she has agreed to come in and visit with me next week. Miss Daphne Cope.
Oh, that will be for
Do you-
all eternity to
Yes,
be
I
in the
can't-
Hall of Fame,
I
Jeff.
can't wait. And when I talked to her on the phone, I thought, I'm not going to have any trouble. I'm going to get to say about one word, and then the rest of it's going to be all her. Yeah.
I went to they had an 80th birthday party for Daphne.
She was telling me about that.
Last week or so,
Yeah.
and she's just a special lady.
She is a very special lady, and of course a part of the Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce for many, many years, and of course involved in the city. So I know that you've run across her in many ways at many times, as we all have. But anyway, Alan, what is on the horizon for Alan Betz and the Alan Betz Law Firm, and all that? What's new out there?
Well, I don't know that there's much new, Jeff. We've started. We're in the process of opening up Alan Betz Closing Services as part of the law practice.
Okay.
To have a new corporation to carry on with the closing and title business and stuff. Benefit of that is it can function whether I'm there or not.
Okay.
I have no intention of going anywhere. A lot of folks ask me when I'm going to retire, and I said I don't have any intentions of retiring.
Yeah.
Gonna keep working as long as I can get here.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing.
I'm with you on that. I like that plan.
But it's just a name situation is the only thing. There won't be any difference in the way that we do business. We'll be
Right.
doing the same. Got the same folks working for me. Got the and I'm very fortunate. I've had some great employees and got some great employees.
You do.
And they take care of our customers and clients and do a great job for us.
They do. They do a great job.
And you're only as good as your help is what I've discovered. And like I say, I'm very fortunate. I've got a great crew.
Good deal. Good deal. Now, you still, the corner that we've talked about, the Cyclone corner deal.
Yes, sir. Still own it.
You still own that corner.
Yes, sir.
And I bet over the years, how many times have you been approached from someone that wanted to purchase that corner?
Well, not as many as you would think.
Yeah.
At one point in time, I thought I had it sold to Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and thought it was a done deal, and then they ended up where they ended up. Of course, I hadn't been there since they've opened that business, Jeff, just to be honest with you.
I don't think I've been through there, but maybe once in that Dunkin' Donuts deal. But they would have been better off to be on your corner.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they would have been better.
It's a great corner. The various highway expansions, there's been two since Chester owned it. State of Tennessee Department of Transportation has ended up with part of that corner two different times, and this last one, they've got it messed up pretty well.
Well, they took a big chunk of right of way, as they say.
Yeah,
I guess.
and put their control box on the corner and that sort of thing. So it would be very difficult for it to be a functioning service station again. But I'm fortunate that the folks at Auto Credit that they've turned it into to a car
They've got
lot.
a thriving business there.
Yeah, they really do.
They really do. Speaking of that, service stations are nowhere near what they were in your dad's day.
I'm sure Chester is spinning in his grave at the thoughts of the difference in the gasoline
They
business.
just don't have the same thing about them whatsoever. Now, he not only had the gas business, but they did mechanic work there too.
Yeah, Connie Clifton.
Yeah.
George and
Yeah.
their dad. He was there as long as I can
Oh
remember.
my gosh, I remember him. He always had a cigar in his
Yeah.
mouth.
Never said much,
Yeah.
and everything, but he could work on vehicles
He
for
sure could.
And
Yeah.
whenever Chester was running the station, you know, when you came in, they put the spigot in the car and washed your windshield and checked your tires and checked your oil, and those days are past.
They're long gone. The last one that did anything close to that was South End down here, and then they quit.
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore. It's hard to find anywhere. I did hear, I think, is it California or San Francisco? One of the cities maybe in California. They have a law where you cannot pump your own gas.
Oh, really?
There's some place that I heard of that you cannot pump your own gas. It has to be attended.
That's interesting.
And I thought that was interesting. Of course, they have $7 a gallon gas, where ours is a little different.
One of the best Chester stories was back in the 70s when the first oil crisis came about.
Yes.
You couldn't get gasoline and
Right.
that sort of thing. But gas, whenever I was growing up, it started off at 20 cents a gallon or whatever. And Chester was convinced that gasoline would never go to more than $1 a gallon. And the reason being that they had the manual pumps. He said, they go to 99.9 cents.
And that's it.
And that's it. And he said, well, it'll cost gasoline companies a fortune to change out to where they could charge more than $1.
That's funny.
And then I'll never forget, he came in one day and he said, well, it's over. And I said, what are you talking about, Dad? And he said, they figured out that you can charge for a half a gallon of gas instead of a gallon, so they're not going to have to change these pumps out. And so gas has gone up ever since then,
How about that? That's funny. That's funny. That reminds me of another man of that generation, Mickey Evers. He once proclaimed that you would never see a computer on his desk. And of course, it wasn't too long after that there was a big computer on his desk. So times changed. Don't
they do.
Times
they
change.
Sure do.
Well, we've got a little more than a minute left, and again, I want to thank you for coming in. We're going to hit a hard break here, and it'll take us off. So, Big Al, as I've always called you, and I guess you don't mind that. You never have. Everybody kind of.
I've been Big Al a long time.
Big Al a long time.
I was Big Al before the Alabama elephant was Big Al.
That's right. Well, listen, I didn't ask you, how did that start?
Just
Somebody just said it and it stuck, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Somebody said it and it stuck. That's awesome. That's awesome. Alan Betz, everybody, a good friend, a local attorney here for many, many, many years, with his office down in Lawrenceburg Public Square, where it's been from the beginning, all the way back. I appreciate you being here, man.
I appreciate you inviting me, Jeff.
We'll have you back one day.
I've enjoyed it.
We'll have you back one day.
Well,
and
I
talk.
don't know what else we'd have to talk
what
about.
we'd do is we'd just talk UT football for the whole shooting match. I guess that might be the way to do it. That might be the way to do it. I appreciate you coming in, bud.
Good to see you,
Take care,
friend.
man.
Good to see
I'm going
you.
to turn this button right here, and we'll be back. WDXE will be on here in just a bit, so stick around for all the rest of that. All right.
This is WDXE, W287AA, and W2